I really need a new light novel, but I don't know what. The things are just not the same anymore. Romantic fantasy. Spider isekai. 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 What's this? Solo leveling. This series gets a lot of hype. Let's check it out. Well, that was something I've already read before.
That Man and His Manga.
Hello and welcome to That Man. That is me merchandise, and today we're going to look at Solo Leveling by Chugong. Now, this is a novel published by Yen Press. But before we get into all of that, if you're new to the channel and love all things manga and collecting, from figures to anime and light novels, do me a favour and subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss out on new weekly videos. Solo Leveling was an interesting title. It's one that I've been aware of for quite some time. I remember it being absolutely hugely popular, especially on certain manga sites, and as soon as Yen Press announced that they were going to be releasing the novel and the manhwa of this particular series, I was really excited. A series that has so much prestige, it can't be bad. Can it? E-rank hunter Jinwoo Sung has no money, no talent and no prospects to speak of, and apparently no luck either. When he enters a hidden double dungeon one fateful day, he's abandoned by his party and left to die at the hands of some of the most horrific monsters he's ever encountered. But just before the last fatal blow, ping! Congratulations on becoming a player. The world of Solo Leveling is interesting. It is the real world, you know, that weird thing that we rarely see in isekai titles, but we see in plenty of other overpowered titles as it is. And this tells the story of a young hunter who is quite experienced with going into dungeons. Oh yeah, the real world has dungeons now. They don't really explain why. They just kind of just pop up and appear. Just roll with it. And he isn't very strong. He always comes up short when it enters a dungeon. He always ends up injured, but he needs money for his family so his sister can go to college. That is what is worth risking your life for. One day he goes into a double dungeon, and after everything that happens, he wakes up in a hospital bed after being told with the voices in his head that he is now a player. While he's in hospital, he realises that he can start and get quests sent to him directly into his mind. And the quests are quite simple. Do this or face a penalty. He ignores it. He just thinks, oh, he's just feeling a bit bleh. You know, he's been in went through all of this stuff, and he's just like, so he doesn't do it. That puts him in a rather dangerous situation with a very powerful boss monster. He manages to clear that and realises that if he doesn't do what the voices in his head tell him to do, well, things are going to be looking bad for him. So he starts to do it. He starts to do push-ups, he starts to do sit-ups, starts to run 10 kilometers a day, and then all his hair falls out and he becomes super overpowered. That's the wrong series. But actually no, apart from the hair fall now, he starts to become stupidly overpowered. And he starts going into the dungeons and clearing them. He realises that if he does certain things in the dungeons, he starts getting these certain criteria. Again, the voices in his head are telling him to do this. And he realises that if he doesn't do it, he gets some rewards. Either he becomes a little bit more powerful, he gets a certain skill, or he manages to get a super powerful weapon. Tell me if you've already heard this story before. Now, I enjoyed my time with Solo Leveling. However, there was something in my mind that when I was reading it, I just couldn't shake off. I genuinely can't understand why this series is as popular as it is. The series itself is pretty straightforward. It is your traditional fantasy setting. Overpowered main character. He's not that interesting, quite frankly, and I don't feel like we learn enough of him. Obviously, it's one of those series where it's kind of like, it's this wish fulfillment fantasy that we have seen so many times. Aria Future, Eminence in Shadow, all of these normal things that people blast in other isekai seem to be present in Solo Leveling. And while I did enjoy my time with it, it was an incredibly easy read. I just didn't feel like it ever went beyond what it wanted to do. It kind of felt that it was looking over somebody else's shoulder, writing everything down and making a fun experience out of it. Now, overall, I'm pretty okay with that. I'm pretty fine with borrowing ideas from other series. However, Solo Leveling, I just don't know what it was. It was something about the series. I was really excited for it. I was really excited to understand why people absolutely adore this series. But it wasn't anything that I felt was particularly special, which was a shame for me. I went in really expecting a lot from it. And when I finished it, while I enjoyed it, I probably won't pick up any further volumes. And the reason being is that I've read this story so many times before. Overpowered main character, not particularly interesting. He's got a lot of girls going after him, but he's a little bit shy of girls because he doesn't know how to talk to them. And like I said, I've read this so many times before in other light novels, in other novels, in other fiction. I'm starting to want a little bit more. And Solo Level never really delivered that for me. Now, this is the novel version of the series. From what I'm understanding, from what I've been asking around, people are absolutely obsessing over the manhwa version. I'm going to assume that the manhwa version has some absolutely fantastic artwork that pushes this pretty by-the-book story into another level, because I genuinely don't understand what the hype is with this series. If you guys have read both, or if you guys are already aware of it, let me know in the comments, because I really want to understand what makes this series so good. Like I said, I enjoyed my time with it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I was expecting. I don't know what it was. I felt like I was expecting something completely different to what I actually got. Solo Leveling was an interesting one for me because, like I said, it wasn't anything that kind of stood out, but it was a good read. And if you just want something completely easy to read, you can get through this in a few hours. There's 300 and odd pages, but I honestly managed to read this in about 3 or 4 hours, which is quite surprising considering there's some titles half that length which take a lot longer to get through. It's one that I would recommend if you just want something easy to read, or if you are a newcomer into novels or light novels. There's nothing extremely taxing with it. You're going to have a genuinely fun time with it. But if you've read a lot of light novels, if you've read a lot of interesting isekai, if you've read a lot of series where they managed to pull the similar type of story and managed to go beyond with it, you might find this series a little bit lacking, which in my opinion is a huge shame. Now, if you do like Solo Leveling and you like me and you want a little bit more, go check out my video on Dungeon Busters. It is essentially the same plot as Solo Leveling, however it's tackled more on a more mature level. So if you are interested in that, I'll leave a link in the description. Go check it out. And if you do like light novels, go check out some more of these videos right here. You're going to have a great time with them. But let me know in the comments what you thought of Solo Leveling. Remember to like, consider subscribing, and I will see you over there. Goodbye.